In our Basics of Cred lesson, we learned how we can delete records using a model instance, but this has changed a little bit since we've now introduced a relationship into our user and role models, and we have data relying on that foreign key constraint. So let's dive into a Node.js REPL session, and let's await load models, and let's get an instance of our user, since our user and roles are the ones that have current relationship data bound by a foreign key. So we'll await models user find or fail our first user. Let's just do user.serialize to ensure that we've gotten back a user. And there is Dolores Bosco. Okay, cool. Let's also await user load profile to verify that this user does have a profile. So we should be able to do user profile serialized now to see their profile information. And there we go. So at this point, our user's profile is dependent upon the existence of our user's record with an ID of 1. And there's a foreign key constraint between our profile and our user records, ensuring that any user ID that we have here must exist inside of our actual users table. So if we were to attempt to just await user delete to delete our user out of the database, we're actually going to get an error due to a violation of that foreign key constraint. And you can see right here in the details section, key ID of 1 is still referenced from the table profiles. So in order for us to delete our user with an ID of 1, we need to delete the profile dependent on that user ID of 1 as well. And that's true for any relationship that we have bound by a foreign key constraint. So if we were to await user profile delete, this will delete our profile out of the database for a user with an ID of 1. And that will then allow us to do user.delete to delete our user with an ID of 1. Now that's the manual approach to foreign key constraint relationship deletions. The alternative approach is to have that on delete cascade automatically for us, so that whenever we actually delete out our user with an ID of 1, their profile that's dependent on that user record that we're deleting will be deleted out as well. So let's jump into our code base and let's take a look at that approach. So if we dive into our profile migration, because this is the migration where that user ID and its foreign key are being defined, we can chain on to the end of this column's declaration an on delete call and specify the command for this to be a cascade. This will inform our database that anytime that we delete the user with an ID of 1, we're also going to want to delete this profile record that's dependent on that user with an ID of 1 as well. So let's give that a save. Let's hide our text editor back away. Let's exit out of our REPL session, clear that out. Node.js migration refresh --seed to roll back, remigrate, and reseed everything. We'll clear that out and let's open our REPL session once more. We'll await load models. Let's grab our instance of our user again. Wait models.user.find or fail user with an ID of 1. Verify that we have a user here. Cool. Bessie Barton. Await user load profile. Let's verify that they have a profile here as well. There we go. Okay, so here we've just verified that we have a foreign key constraint between our profile and our user records. So at this point, if we were to try and await user delete and we run that, we'd expect it to succeed, and there it did. If we check out our user model, we'll see that is deleted is set to true. And the reason why that succeeded this time is because we have that on delete cascade informing our database that we want to cascade the deletion of a user into their profile as well. Now, one thing to note here is that if we take a look at our user profile, since we still have everything in memory, we're going to see that the is deleted flag is set to false. The reason for this is because the cascade behavior is at the database level, not at the model level. So at this point, the profile has actually been deleted, but our model instance is just out of date. So the behavior that we're seeing here is expected and correct. We just didn't delete through this profile, so it doesn't actually know that it's deleted. So let's go ahead and try and refresh our profile. So we could do await user profile.refresh to try and grab a fresh instance out of our database. If we run that, we're going to see that we get back model.refresh failed because it was unable to look up a profile with an ID of 1, meaning essentially that it has been deleted and no longer exists in the database. We can confirm that by doing await models profile find by or fail. We'll find by the user ID column with an ID of 1. If we run that, we're going to get an row not found exception because it could not find a profile with a user ID of 1, furthermore confirming that the record has been deleted. Before we round out this lesson, let's go ahead and apply this on delete cascade in a couple more places. So where this would be handy is between our cast movies and crew movies pivot tables. Nope, that's our alter one. Let's take a look at the actual one that's defining the column for the relationship here. So if we delete a cinist or a movie out of the database, we're no longer going to want our pivot table existence to be here, because if the cinist no longer exists, then the role in that movie no longer exists, and vice versa. If the movie no longer exists, then the cinist role no longer exists either. So it would make sense to go ahead and just cascade that deletion for both of these here. So we'll add that in for both of those, and we'll jump over to our crew movies and apply it here as well. for both of them, just like so. Let's go ahead and refresh our database so that we have everything up to date. Exit out of our REPL session, clear that out. Node, ace, migration, refresh, --seed. Give that a run, and there we go.